Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Help Awaken. My name is Garhen, and this evening we present Deciding Who You Are, even when everyone else wants something else. And they beat you, Kelly. Cindy, Jennifer, Kelly tries to beat you guys on every time. And you know what? You guys always beat her. It's really funny. You just see her sitting there laughing. It's really good to see both of you this evening, or at least to see your icons. And I apologize if I appear a bit tired. I am. It was not so hot out today, so I have spent the entire day outside working on the deck. And, you know, it's down to the last few pieces now, and everything's coming together. And I tell you, I can't wait to sit on it and relax, and neither can my back. So this evening we have a really, this one's dear to my heart. I got to tell you, it's probably going to be a bit of a tearjerker at times, and I do apologize for that. Actually, no, I don't. I have never been one not to be willing to wear my heart on my sleeve. I think it is the most manly thing in the world to wear your heart on your sleeve. I don't believe in this idea that you are not a man if you cry and if you show compassion and have emotion about things. I'm a very emotional being when it comes to the things I'm passionate about. Very emotional about it. And I make no apologies about that. And the reason being is that I find in being that way, I truly serve people. Why? Because I'm not blocking anything. I'm totally open all the time, and that means when I've said, Kelly asked me last night, she says, how is it that you'll respond immediately to some post, like you can feel right through the screen? And I said, that's exactly it. Sometimes people will write something, and there will be a resonance left in their words, and it will come right through the screen at me and touch my heart. And when that happens, you can bet there's going to be a video on it. And this evening, we are here for Sandra Shell. Sandra, I want you to know that. This video is for you tonight. It is for all of us, but it is your courage, your post, your willingness to be open and ask for some help and advice that lends us all courage and lends us all the ability to grow. And for that, I am very grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So first I want to read what Sandra had written before we begin. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things tonight. And I'm hoping it's going to be a really good video. I watched the one I did last night, and I was surprised myself. That one turned out pretty good too. And as I said, I'm not really here when I do the videos, so I have to go back. And it's really funny when you can laugh at yourself laughing at one of your own jokes in a video and go, hey, that was kind of funny. Yeah, it's a little strange, actually. It's like I have an evil twin brother who I never meet, but he talks to me through the video all the time. Thank you, Cindy. I'm sure Sandra will love that. We've kept her in our prayers and our meditations, and she has been in my thoughts ever since I saw that post. And this is what we do for people, and we're not special, okay? This is the way we're supposed to treat each other. We're all the same family here, all of us. No matter what any of us thinks, we are the human family. Okay, we're here expressing ourselves as humans, and we are here together, all of us, together, one big family. So again, I'm going to read what Sandra had written. I hope I can share this here. I feel like it is a safe place to share. I need some advice. Short version. 2 years ago, my son told me about the abuse with my granddaughter by the stepmom, and then I was told my granddaughter was possibly being molested by the grandfather, my ex, and I have been very public about it. So I contacted Child Protective Services, but my son has lied and said he never told me anything, but when CPS actually got a hold of him, he did admit to the abuse. One of the lessons I have had to learn so it doesn't swallow me up in grief is to look within to find my self-worth and realize who I really am, and it has made me a lot stronger, and for the first time in my life I feel it is a privilege to be alive. and not, please beam me out of here. And Sandra, that's a great place to come to, because there's a lot of people, myself included, who've been through times when that's all we want, is to get beamed out. You know, and Kelly and I were talking about that last night. The idea that, you know, life's going to be better somewhere else. Life is good. It truly, truly is. I listened to the video broadcast on being the only one standing, and I just cried and cried. I have lost my 4 kids, my grandkids, all family and relatives because of this, but my time alone was and has been very much needed, very blessed and grateful for my time. I could clear my thoughts. Here is the but. It's been 2 years of mean and ugly emails, texts, and posts, people posting ugly things. I do talk about my granddaughter and do businesses. There's been legal action threatened against me. I would stop everything right now and it would fade and be forgotten, but I would never have any peace knowing my granddaughter probably is still being abused. I am lost as to where I should go from here, but I feel I can't quit on my granddaughter. My heart hurts for her. It feels like a dark cloud hanging over me. I wish there was some kind of manual that could tell me what to do. I've been told to let it go, but what exactly does it mean? What am I supposed to let go of? We're going to address that. We're going to address what it is we really need to let go of. And we're going to start by deciding who we are. And this is probably the biggest part of it, okay? And if you watch the video on The Only One Standing, you know firsthand exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Whenever we do stand, whenever we take a stand against the tide, and again, it is not against. We're taking a stand for something. In this case, Sandra's taking a stand for her granddaughter. She isn't against anybody. But she is for her granddaughter. Deciding who you are. The first step, of course, is knowing what you are, okay? And yes, when we're in this human world, it can seem very limiting, very small, very tiny, very short, and very confusing. But you are a timeless, boundless being, made totally from God's stuff. Literally, the mind of God, the sea of consciousness. We are all minded in the mind of God. We are all within the Creator. Not outside of that sea of consciousness. Not gazing off to some far-off place in the sky we would call heaven, where some Zeus-like figure sits, ready to dispense lightning bolts or carriages to heaven, depending on which way you get to go. That is not the truth of our existence. What you are has never been born and has never died. It is eternal. It has always been and will always be. And don't even try to wrap your head around that. It's really hard. You know, personally, I remember 3,280 years of existence, give or take a tiny bit. And, you know, that's a heartbeat. A heartbeat. While we're here on this planet, everything seems so final, everything seems so important, everything seems so real that we forget. We forget we're here in a playground playing hide and seek with God. But there's something really funny about it. God is absolutely miserable at playing hide and seek. It's the truth. I see God everywhere. I can close my eyes for as long as I want. God does not hide. As soon as I open them, there God is. In the flowers, in the trees, in the people who I meet, in the people I don't meet, in the cats, in the dogs, in the birds, in the heart of the forest, in the heart of the city. The drug dealer is God. The person living homeless in the street is God. Sandra is God. Cindy is God. Garhen is God. Kelly is God. Sandra's granddaughter is God. All here having experience, all here discovering itself through a totally unique filter, through a totally unique and one-of-a-kind way of viewing creation. And we chose our paths. We choose our paths every day. And no, sometimes it is not easy. And as I said, when you choose to stand for something, when you choose to stand for someone, you are going to go through the same routine that every single person who's ever stood in history goes through. You are going to be vilified. You're going to be cursed. You're going to be crucified in some way. You're going to be hated. And one day, wait for it. Maybe it'll be after you're dead. In this existence, you will be loved for what you have done. But honestly, none of that really matters. What matters is you. What matters is what you choose. And never, ever, ever should we be willing to trade off the comfort and the familiarity and the closeness of family if it means not being who we choose to be. If it means not being me completely. Why are you here? I hope our comments are still working. It seems very quiet. Maybe it's the discussion. Why are you here? This is always a big one, and I hear so many people, well, you're here to learn, you're here, it's a school, it's a school of hard knocks, it's a tough place to be, yeah, it is, life is tough. That's lies. All lies. Life is wonderful. It really is. It is what we think about it that queers it. We are here to play. We are here to evolve. We are here to grow. As I said, we are in the Garden of Eden still playing hide and seek with God, dancing around the tree of wisdom, the tree of knowledge, the tree of immortality. All the trees. We are here to be conscious creators. We are here to evolve, to remind ourselves of what we truly are. As I said yesterday, and as Neil Donald Walsh had said, it's only a matter of proportion. But you are divinity. We are all divinity. Man, that's hard to take when someone's doing something to harm another person. I look at my career in the armed forces and I realize that, I killed God over and over again. Why? Because someone told me to. And it wasn't until I finally made a choice for myself that I was able to stop doing those sort of things. It's also not your first trip. And if you're waking up in this life, I've got some fantastic news for you. Just amazing news. Your level of consciousness now can only grow in the next life. You are an evolutionary spiritual being. You are a continuation of God itself, evolving itself back to itself. Experiencing itself the only way the absolute could. Because, of course, when you are everything, there is no frame of reference to look upon yourself, because everywhere you look, you are. So what had to happen? Being everything, God could not make any place where God did not exist in. But what God could do and did do was shatter itself into a limitless number of pieces, each one imbued with God consciousness, each one a level of consciousness evolving back towards that supreme consciousness. This is the truth of your being, and it is not your first trip. If you're waking up in this life, if you're finding you're turning towards spirituality and conscious awakening, and your focus is more about what's going on here and what's going on in your heart. Is that where my heart? Yeah. I think it's on that side still. And if you are here now, it's probably not your last trip either. You know, in some cases it may be. You may choose a different planet, but it's never your last trip. The evolution is ongoing. These two things are really important to understand in deciding who you are, is understanding, you know, what you are, which is immortal, divine, and why you're here. Only to evolve. Only for experience, only to make choice, only to make conscious creation and take responsibility for your creation. Never blame. Ever. God does not blame. God does not judge. We make our choices and we live the consequences of those choices, and our Creator, like a loving parent, watches. Smiles when we smile, cries when we cry, feels the pain when we feel pain. There are many outside influences that have a lot to do with deciding who you are if you let them, and I would encourage you not. A lot of these outside influences are commonplace, and we all know them well, okay? First of all, there's peer pressure. There's peer pressure from others around us, you know, and Kelly faces this from people unintentionally. Oh, I hear you're a grandma. How's the little grandchild doing? And Kelly's face drops, and she says, well, actually, I have no clue. I've never met the kid. How sad. How sad to take away the love of a grandparent over your belief system. And then, of course, we have family pressure, and this is the sort of pressure that is, or can be, the worst. Okay, because we are taught to love our families. We are taught that our family is that essential central unit, and that everyone in our family is supposed to love us and care for us, and we're supposed to love and care for them. And you know what? In our day and age, more and more and more, I see that family has become an excuse to behave exactly as you choose towards other family members. And we're not talking about the fact that we're actually one giant family. 7.5 billion children strong. All playing in the playground. And then there are the societal pressures. The pressures about what you need to be successful, what you need to be complete, who you need to be with, what you need to do. All of these things that we're convinced over and over and over again that you need to do this to be happy, you need to do that to be successful, you need to be this to have power and have a life worth living. Every life is worth living. Every life. No matter what we think. Every life is worth living. Every life is God experiencing itself in every way. Where do we fit into that picture? All of these outside influences are, of course, false. They only have the ability to influence you to the degree that you allow them to. To the degree that you take it into your own mind and allow your thoughts and perceptions to be influenced by them. And again, when it comes to family, that can be the hardest. You know, I, in many ways, consider myself quite fortunate that my family is all dead. Now, I know that seems a little bit harsh, but allow me to continue. there was too much angst going on in my family, too many problems with no solutions apparent. Yet it was the very environment I needed to be raised in to eventually set myself free. Because at a young age, I had to be self-sufficient. And when you learn at a young age to be self-sufficient, you learn to rely on yourself. And that self has a capital S in front of it. Oh, the cat agrees with me. I can hear her around the corner. Doing the right thing. And, you know, here's where we lose out over and over and over again. What is the right thing? Well, the right thing is whatever you decide and commit yourself to 100%. It is the right thing. You see, that sea of consciousness, the universe that watches us, is not looking at what we do and judging it, but it is looking for something. And what it's looking for is the level to which you commit your being to what you truly choose, to what you profess. Do your thoughts, words, and deeds line up? Do they take you like an arrow through conscious awareness and towards enlightenment? Or do they cause you to zig and to zag and to fall onto the harder pathways? Doing the right thing is really simple. And Sandra, I think you could probably speak to this. But I bet you, when you really look in your heart, you know what you need to do. You know what the right thing is to do. And you will do the right thing according to Sandra. And there is no blame and no judgment on that. At all. Ever. And you know, if the people around you are not mature enough in conscious awakening, are not aware enough, are so asleep that they have to ostracize and put you out, you have to find peace with that. Sandra asked, what am I supposed to let go of? What exactly does that mean? Oh, we're glad you're here. Silver shells. Haha, absolutely love that. What are you supposed to let go of? There's a whole bunch of things, but it all comes down to one, okay? But we're going to talk about them in individual little pieces so things become a little clearer. The first thing you have to do is let go of the concept that you need the approval or love of anyone outside of yourself and the Creator. And I have news for you. You are loved so deeply. This is where I begin to lose it, because as soon as I start speaking about the love of the Creator, my higher self goes, oh yeah, I'll fill your whole being with it just to show you. And I sit here with goosebumps just speaking of it. Because immediately when I bring it to mind, that's how fast my connection just back together again. Just like that. You are infinitely loved. You are loved in ways you could not imagine. And no love, no conditional love, no impure love from another human being will ever equal that which the Creator freely gives to you, no matter what you choose. So the first thing to let go of is the concept that you need the love of others to somehow be complete. And you know, again, for a lot of people, Kelly included, this doesn't mean it's easy. You have to get to a place in your being where you have understood and accepted that the path you chose is going to lead you down this route. Who are you doing it for? Everything we do, we truly do for ourselves because we are in everyone and everyone is in us. I am in you and you are in me. God is serving God. Choose. Let go of the idea that what you've ever done could be wrong. You have acted from your heart, and when you act from your heart, you are deciding who you are. You are choosing to be that compassionate, loving, protective being over the life of another, and there is no more beautiful gift. No more beautiful gift. Especially the innocence of children. Now, we have to be clear about this, okay? We choose our parental relationships before we come here. We choose that. I did. And you did too. You might not remember it, but you chose those parents. Everyone does. And a lot of people would say, well, wait a minute, okay, so if this person chose those parents and a member of that family or those parents decides to be abusive, well, that must be okay in some way. And again, we are here to choose. Choose what we wish and choose what we do not wish. And when we see something that we know, there's no thought about it. There's just an upwelling of this cannot continue. And of course, that's a mind interpretation of the deeper, higher self, the spiritual true being that is manifesting you, sending you a crystal clear message that you are to act. I've lived by that policy now for 28 years. I don't think about what I need to do. I don't contemplate what I need to do. I simply do as arises, without question. What you did for your granddaughter, Sandra, is exactly that. You acted. You took action. You made a choice. And yes, people are going to vilify you for that choice. Let go of other people's opinions. They are not your judge. And I swear to you, I have died twice now. There is no judgmental God waiting for you. There is only a God of love and of compassion. And when you step across that other side, I'm going to tell you something, okay? And this is the truth. The highest spiritual beings sacrifice themselves for others. Always. Always. Doesn't matter whether it's Buddha, Christ, Sandra, any of the people in our lives who made sacrifices for us, those are the highest of the high. And again, it's not about, where you are versus where someone else is. It's simply the recognition that you have learned the ultimate lesson. To serve is divine. It really is. Why? Because we are served. We are served in every day and every way by our Creator. We are imbued with life. We are imbued with the gift of another day every time we open our eyes in the morning. Let go of the idea that anything you have done could have ever been not the right thing in your life. Especially when it rises spontaneously and you find yourself taking action without thought. Those moments are the ultimate moments. Those moments are the moment where your higher self reaches right through your being and causes you to move. And that is beautiful. Awakening to your power, and this is the big one. And you know, letting go is actually relatively easy, okay? It really involves coming to the conclusion that no one else's opinion about you is more important than your own. Assuming, of course, you're being honest with yourself. Never judge yourself for your choices. That would be akin to blame. That would be akin to punishing a child for breaking a toy. It doesn't work that way. Awakening to your power means choosing who you are, choosing what do you wish to do. This is what life is about. It's about choice. We all have free will. We have the free will to make any choice we wish and live with the consequences. And sometimes those consequences are going to hurt. And that hurt may go on for the rest of our lives. But what you did was the right thing. It was the right thing because you chose it. It was the right thing because you committed to it, because you put an innocent life in front of your happiness, in front of your comfort within the family, in front of your being part of that. And that is the sacrifice that puts you on that list. Consequences in the illusion, this illusion of Maya, okay? And this is where it comes down to. We feel and deal with the consequences of our choices here in the illusion. The same strength and power that caused you, Sandra, to make this decision in regards to your granddaughter is still there within you. Never leaves you. Life will not give you more than you can handle. Life will always send the right people to help you. And you are loved. The consequences in this illusion, the consequences here are really meaningless. They're short term. No matter what happens from here, no matter how you choose to go forward from it, you will have an accounting of this. You will come to see, perhaps only when you cross the veil to the other side, that everyone was playing a role, everyone was playing a part. And some of those parts were played so well that we hated those people. Some of those parts are played so perfectly that we crucify them or imprison them, punish them in some way. You are playing your part to the best of your ability, as is every single person on this planet, including the people involved with your granddaughter. Their level of conscious awakening, their level of awareness, the suffering and egoic damage that may be there can be monstrous. But we only do what we can do within the level of consciousness we have. Again, responsibility but not blame. The actions we choose to take, the choices we make, have consequences, and those consequences, as I said, can be far-reaching. Here's the beauty of it, okay? You are not to focus on the consequences. You are to focus on your decision and your choice and where you stand in your heart with this. And if you are still standing in your heart that there is something you need to do to care for your granddaughter, then you need to do it, no matter what the cost. You may not see any vindication in this existence. Yeah, and I understand. I really do, Sandra. You know, the attacks against us and the vilification and the sheer animosity, yeah, it's very frightening. We really ask ourselves, how can anyone come to this place? And I know this is really hard to accept, but you have to understand that all the people involved, more than your granddaughter even, are suffering. They're suffering in untold ways. How do I know that? Because they vilify you. You see, we forget that. It's so easy to forget. When someone gets really angry and upset with us, when someone starts attacking us, they are attacking us because of the pain that they are in. And in this case, perhaps the pain of knowing the truth and knowing what they need to do, but them themselves being too afraid. They could be too scared as well. Too close. Too deep for them to feel like there's ever a way out. Trying to hold on to something no matter what, even at the expense of innocence. Child innocence. And it doesn't make it right. Know too, Sandra, that as you are afraid, so are they. As you are suffering, their suffering is deeper and more severe. Why? Because they have to lash out. It hurts so much. The pain is so great in them that they have they're so afraid that they have to be angry at you. That they have to lash out at you repeatedly. Why? Because they are burning up inside. And one day that fire will consume. And it will either set them free or send them spiraling down. It all depends what choices they make on this journey. And again, I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not. You know, I have stood trembling. You know, I'm going to relay a little story, and I've relayed this one months ago. And again, the only reason I tell it is to illustrate a point, okay? But I was in the Congo, and at the time I was a monk. It was after I had left the military, and I was standing there in my monkish robes. And there was a Western power, CIA, U.S. government, European government, were paying this particular nasty little warlord to guard and protect a uranium mine. And this is typically how it went, okay? And they would hand the one guy they chose lots of money, lots of weapons, lots of support, as long as they could have clear access to the mine and the material was guaranteed to get out. And of course, whatever these warlords chose to do to the neighboring villages and the people around the area, the governments don't care about. They want that uranium. So there I am. We had just left a village where every single person had been murdered. Every woman raped, every child old enough raped, every man killed, every boy killed if not taken to be conscripted. And we heard wind that this warlord was hitting another village later in the day. And there's me standing in the middle of the road. And eventually that warlord holding a pistol to my forehead and screaming in anger at me. And I was sure he was going to pull a trigger, but I would not move. But there was something about killing what he considered a holy man that he could not live with. There was a little bit too much fear in him of what may happen. And I stood. And the village was left alone. And I got sick. I could barely make it to the side of the road. I was shaking so hard. One of my monk friends helped me, and I threw up. I fell to my knees, and I just threw up all over the place. For half an hour, I was shaking and on all fours over what had just happened to me. I can imagine, Sandra, that this is how you feel. And I share your tears. I really do. What do we do? What do we do when we are faced with that which may destroy us in order to preserve another? We make our choice, and we live with that choice. Relax a little bit. It's okay. It's only one life. And yeah, it is important. And yeah, what you're doing is right. But take the load off yourself. Ask yourself if you somehow need anything that people who would treat you like this could offer you. Understand that as much as you are afraid, their fear and their pain and their suffering runs so deep that they have to lash out repeatedly, as you said, almost daily. You're fighting the good fight. And as with everyone else before us who fights the good fight, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., the list is endless. It isn't about what happens to you here and now. It's about what you've chose. You know, Enigma has another beautiful song, and in there one of the lines is that the eyes of truth are always watching. And it's true. It really is. Our very physical manifestation lives in perfect truth. Not the mind, but this vessel. It is an extension of our higher selves. It is manifested in our higher being. And the eyes of truth are watching us all. Again, the opportunity for conscious awareness, for spiritual advancement, for awakening in these situations is immense. It is an awesome opportunity to wake even further to your own personal power. Let go of the idea that anything that you are could ever be harmed. Let go of the idea that it is only your responsibility to care for another, and then care for that other. And you will see over time that people will join you. People will rally to your cry. It is the degree to which you choose and the degree to which you commit yourself that makes you shine. And your granddaughter may never know what you have done until you have gone. But I promise you this. One day, in some way, she will find out. And she will love you completely for what you have done. Completely. You may not be here to see it, but you know what? Even if it means you're watching her from the other side, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel that love, that gratitude, the recognition of what you sacrificed and what you have given. And no one can take that away from you. Even if they take your life, you cannot lose that. It cannot be stripped from your being. It is part and parcel of the experience, and God itself is fully aware. Never doubt that. What are you supposed to let go of? Let go of everything. Surrender it. Surrender it all. Accept whatever comes to your door. Accept whatever comes and choose whether to incorporate it into your being or simply let it pass. But do not get lost in judgment on it. You see, when you did what you did, you set in process, into motion, your own growth at the same time. Some part of you knew that what you were taking on was going to be risky. Some part of you knew that there would be repercussions, and you did not care. You chose the innocence of your granddaughter above anything that could happen to you. The same is true today. That powerful decision is in you. The power of that decision is you, is available to you all the time. Exercise that power in these other areas of your life. Choose for yourself. Whatever you do, it will be the right thing for you. Of that I promise you. When you go to the other side, you're going to have a life review. And in that life review, you are going to, and it's not a review because you're not judged on it. The only person who's going to judge it is you yourself. You can think of it as a massive information download. The entire experience of the egoic being known as Sandra, or known as Garhen, or known as Kelly, or Cindy, or Jennifer, whatever it may be, is going to download all of that information into the one. And you will have your entire life go by you, and you will feel everything. Not only what you feel it, but you will feel the other as well. And in that, you will come to understand that they are hurting so deeply, that they are in so much pain and suffering with what is going on, so much that the only thing they can see is to strike out, and you will know that clearly. And you will also see what the sacrifice you have made has allowed your granddaughter to become. You can realize that all right now. You don't have to wait until you die. You can open yourself. You can work through meditation and asking yourself and contemplating the deep questions that you have, the answers will come to you. And you will see that what you have done was the right thing. Don't let go of your granddaughter. Let go of caring about what someone else has to think about you for what you choose to do. Care more about what your heart tells you is the right thing to do. And even if it costs you your physical life, you will not be harmed. That which you are will return again and again. And if there is an act in the universe worthy of praise, it is the protection of the innocent. You know, for me, it's always been animals and little kids. Why? As I said to Kelly, because they're innocent. I know what you're going through. I understand. And you can do this. We have your back. You can talk to us anytime. PM us if you need to. Not just once, twice, 3 times. It doesn't matter. We can talk video face to face. We will give you all the support we can, as every other person in this group will. That I am sure of. You are loved. And clearly, your granddaughter is loved. Again, I'm not saying this is simple. I'm not saying this is easy, but it's as easy as you making a choice and sticking with that choice no matter what comes your way. You see, really, our universe is all about commitment. That sea of consciousness just wants to see if you're committed. And once it knows you're committed, then everything in creation starts moving for you. Because you are the center of creation. As I am. As Kelly is. As your granddaughter is. Even as your son is. Or the ex, who's possibly still abusing the grandchild. Sandra, what you're going through is being repeated way too much. way too much. And I'm not saying that to make any less of what you're going through at all. What I'm trying to say to you is, what you are doing is what we all need to learn to do. To stand up for innocence. Not against those, but for those who are innocent. For those who do not have food. For those who do not have shelter. You know, in Canada, just yesterday, Canada, you know, we just bought a $4.5 billion pipeline from an oil company because there's trouble putting it through to the BC coast and so many worries. So the government's going to buy it and federalize it and do it. $4.5 billion. But, you know, we can't come up with enough money to feed people in this country or house them all in this country. But we can buy a pipeline at the drop of a hat to make sure it goes through. What a deal for the oil company. $4.5 billion cash on the taxpayer's back. In a world when we should be switching to solar power and renewable energy. And you think, well, what does this have to do with what I'm going through? It is all the same stuff. We are making choices, and your choices, clearly, when it comes to your granddaughter, are coming from a much higher place. You know, I talked about that line in the sand, and the one funny thing about that line in the sand is that your being will decide that the choice is made, and there's a line in the sand, and your ego will hate that line. But it won't cross it. Why? Because it knows ultimately that line in the sand's been drawn for a reason. Make your line in the sand. And I think you already have started, or have. Hold that line. And do not judge yourself on the outcome. Know that it is in the intent. It is in what is expressing in your heart that the universe is watching. It is not watching what's on the surface. It is looking inside of you, and it is seeing what's there, and it is resonating and dealing for you with that if you allow it. Quiet yourself. Take time to meditate. Surround yourself with people who love you and support you. And do what it is you feel you need to do, and know that there's at least 170 some odd members of this group who have your back. And if they don't, they're missing the point of being part of this group. Kelly and I do, guaranteed. I know Cindy does for sure. I guarantee you Jennifer does, and I guarantee you anyone else who sees this video will too. You have support. You have the support of that infinite sea of consciousness. You will be never given anything more than you can handle, Sandra. You can handle this. You have that strength. God bless you. Really. Deciding who you are in a world where our societies convince us to all try to be the same is fraught with peril. It is not simple. It is not easy. It will tear your ego apart. And you know what? That's okay. Because the ego is not what you are. That fear is the fear that comes from I. You are a transcendent being. Deciding who you are has real world consequences, but it also has consequences in the spiritual realm, and those consequences are glorious. Glorious. Know that. Believe it. Stay in your power. Hold your line in the sand. Do what your heart tells you is the right thing, no matter who or what happens. And all of creation watches. Your future is assured. There will be nothing ultimately that harms you. I hope this helps. I really do, from the bottom of my heart. You are to be commended. Very strong. Many people do not have this strength yet. Many people have not found it within themselves. Much love. Much love to you all. Namaste. And good night.